Good.
Well,
Right,
I understand what Sal's comment was. I was reading it for about a solid 2 minutes there. Matt has light, and then he celebrates saying woo, because I'm usually in the dark.
Yeah.
I was like, what is a light? What's a light
What's
woo?
a light woo?
What's going on, and welcome to episode 137 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast, a podcast where three brothers talk about what's happening in American and European soccer. We are a part of the Big Heads Media Network. Go to Big Heads Media to check out awesome podcasting content. My name is Dave Knittel, the eldest Knittel brother. I am here with my two brothers, Christian and Matt. Christian, middle Knittel, hello, how are you?
Hello, David. I am doing quite all right. The weekend was nice. NFL is back. Penn State won for football, so football is fun. The international break happened, which was just a detriment to my soul, but, we'll just keep moving past that. We'll touch on that later. And our grandmother had a stroke today, so that's not the best, but, we gotta stay positive, and she's stable right now, so...
Yes, so shout out my mom. We're all praying and thinking of you. So, Matthew, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you for asking. Like Christian said, football was back, so that made, international break more tolerable as I now hate international break. I don't think I used to this much, and now I'm just like over the top with how bad it is. I think because USA sucks, and I hate Greg Berhalter.
All right, fair enough. And for those watching on YouTube, we've lost Matthew. This is just
here
excellent
we go again.
start to the podcast.
Well, we can hear him now, so that's all.
Yeah, we can hear him, so we'll go with it. Guys, I am doing relatively well, and he's back. I'm doing relatively well outside of the mum news. Had a good weekend. Football's back. Fantasy is back, so I'm enjoying that. I still... am not soul crushed by the international breaks, and I'm trying to look for positives with the U.S.'s performance. Not going to have too many, but we will talk about that in my section, and hopefully they can get things corrected for Uruguay on Tuesday, though I don't have a ton of high hopes. Christian, do you have our trivia question?
I do. So my trivia question is going to be about the comparison of Timo Pukki and Cristiano Ronaldo, something you hear a lot about, I'm sure.
Yep.
So
years.
I'm going to ask you guys to provide me which person has had, I'm going to ask how many match winners have each of them had in between the start of last season and now.
Okay. All right, we'll think on that. And listeners, I apologize. I forgot to bring this up. This is going to be a very long episode. So people watching on YouTube, this is going to be regular length. But for podcast listeners, we are going to have 2 interviews sprinkled in here for our quick kick picks game. They're going to be after Matt's segment and then after Christian's segment. So I just wanted to give the forewarning here. We're only doing 1 episode a week now, so it's going to be a little bit longer, and you guys can hit pause if you would like. But just wanted to provide that little forewarning. So Matt,
you should just listen to it all the way through, though.
Yes, you should.
How can you stop once you start?
I know. Once you pop, the fun don't stop. Matthew, over to you for Matt's Megs. Pringles? Once you pop, the fun don't stop? No, Christian?
I just had 3 cans of Pringles yesterday.
All right, everybody, welcome to Matt's Megs. I'm glad you guys got to get your Pringle conversation out of the way, and I hope all the listeners are enjoying Pringles right now. All right, so this week we will talk about mainly Manchester City. We'll start with the women's game. I hope Dave and Christian prepared, with my topics that I definitely notified them about. So this weekend, Manchester United played at the Etihad. The women's team played at the Etihad. The Manchester City women's team, there was over 30,000 people in attendance. Manchester City won 1-0. It was the first Manchester derby between the two.
So wait,
Christian,
is your first question going to be why do more people come out to the women's game than the men's?
Dave, I'll start with you. Dave, I'll start with you. So how big of numbers do you expect this game to be? Do you think it was big because it was the first time, or do you expect the game to keep growing kind of at this rate?
I would expect it to keep growing at this rate. I think that England has obviously a huge soccer culture. I think it also helps that the clubs over there are aligned between the men and the women. They have true clubs, and I think that really benefits. Over here in the U.S., I think our teams across all sports are not aligned. And so even though you have the Timbers and the Thorns, who play in the exact same location. They have the same ownership group. They don't have the same name, and they're not aligned under the same brand. I honestly think clubs around the world will benefit, specifically on the women's side, from just being able to attach to men's brands. And I expect them to, continue. Or I shouldn't say men's brands, but the men's brands are a little bit more well known. And so the fact that they can just sort of be a part of that same club, I think that it'll really, really benefit them. And I only see it growing from here. I don't think this is just a blip.
Okay. Christian, what do you think about the women's game?
I think that it's going to continue to grow at this rate. I think it's really important that it does. And like Dave touched on, I think it's important to attach to clubs who have already established themselves on the world market. And that will just bring it to light. Seeing 30,000 people at a league game in England is huge. And I think that it's going to start to file in, and you'll see that across multiple countries. I know the women's game is pretty big in the US, but I don't think domestically it's as big as it is on the international stage. A lot of people tune in. Every game is sold out for the U.S. women's national team, but I don't think that at the league level we're seeing that. I hope that it starts to grow, and England might be where it has to start, because England has built that culture. They have that just soccer in their blood, and it's really just awesome and inspiring to see it happening so quickly over there.
Yeah, so I think that it's really good that 30,000 plus are showing up for a league match. And, being two clubs of that stature, I mean, it's good for the soccer world to kind of see that. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up 30,000 every time they play. I think they only played at the Etihad probably because it was the first one. It was a big match. And the men's team, they're on international break. So I think that just kind of worked out. I'm not sure how big the women's stadium is for Manchester City, but I don't expect it to be necessarily this big every time. I think the game is going to grow continuously, but I think 30,000 people was just a first time kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I also heard on the Totally Football show, which is a different podcast based in the UK, that they said they're going to try to do a combination game, so the women play like right after the men in the same stadium. They were expressing concerns about that because, with people leaving, then you have, the women getting, 15, 20,000 people, which is a decent amount. But if they're in like a 60,000 seater stadium, it doesn't create that same atmosphere. So Matt, I'm with you on that one. I think they need to be very careful about having, playing in these massive stadiums and, quote, only having 20,000 people, but it looking, not great. Whereas if they played in a smaller venue and maybe they sacrificed a little bit of ticket sales, but you had a really raucous atmosphere of 10 or 15,000 seater stadium and got it, really, really raucous. I think that always benefits the product on the field and also on television. Yeah. Raucous.
Stop saying raucous.
Yeah, so Christian, do you think, or are you concerned with just like the size of the stadiums we're playing in, and do you think 30,000 is just a crazy number to keep up at this point in time?
Yeah, I think it's unfair to expect that many people to show up, but I hope that it does. I think that they should build smaller stadiums and just start at that level, let them fill out, let them have a waiting list for tickets, and then as that starts to just roll, you can get to bigger stadiums. They can start to play in the Etihad and stadiums like that. And even if it doesn't get that big, I mean, going from 10 to 20,000, that's a huge step anyway. That's bigger than a lot of stadiums we see in soccer in the US. And even in England, you have a lot of stadiums that are smaller than 20,000 people. And they're not selling out really every single game either. A lot of them are. And I think it just starts with having a smaller stadium, building that atmosphere, building the culture, building just the demand for it, and then going from there.
Do you think that they'll have like their own stadiums built? Or I know that a lot, I'm not sure where the City women's team plays. I don't know if they have their own. I think they play in the Academy Stadium. I might be wrong about that.
They do.
But do you think they should just play in the Academy Stadium? Like most of the teams, or do you think they should have their stadiums built?
So I think it depends. Okay. Yeah. So I think it depends. Matt, I don't know if we're on a
He might be a little delayed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that'll be fun the rest of this time. So I think it all depends. with regards to City and Liverpool and Manchester United, they probably have big academy stadiums where they have 5, 10, 15,000 seaters. For some of the smaller clubs, I'm trying to think of examples. I wish I knew the women's game better. I'm not sure which teams are even in the top flight, but some of the smaller clubs, like, I don't know, Watford or something like that, they may not have that big stadium, and their men's league team is probably 20 to 25,000. So in that case, I think it does make sense to build a smaller stadium. You know, we were touching on a previous podcast about DC United, and they built their stadium for Loudoun United. It's called like a modular stadium. They built it in like 2 weeks, and it's just comes all prefabricated, and they just kind of put the pieces together, and it's, you know, I think like 5,000 people. It may make sense to just start with that and then build up from there. So I think that's where it makes sense.
Are you worried about, you know, just the money that would be going into those stadiums?
Is that for me or for Christian?
I am right now. Yeah,
you're pretty delayed. Okay. Well, no. So for the modular stadiums, they also are cheaper to build them that way, and so I think it makes sense to do that. So I don't think that the cost would be a huge burden for them. So I think that's something to really consider.
Christian.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense for them. Oh, well, yeah, I just don't think it makes any sense to add any stadiums right now. I think it's important to just bring the club together and either play at the same facilities that are already there or play in the stadium as they are doing in Manchester City. I think that is the first step. I don't think that they need to build their own stadiums right now, and just start to build around the team that they have, and eventually it will get to that point, but there's no point throwing money where money doesn't need to be spent right now, in my opinion.
But what would you rather have? Would you rather them play in the empty stadiums? Like, so say they get 5,000 and play.
But they could play at the reserve or the second team's stadium in a lot of these places. Like, a lot of these big clubs have these types of
but not all clubs. A lot of the big clubs do, but not all of the clubs have them. So I'm talking about.
Yeah, like the smaller clubs, then yes, they should play it in, even though it's going to look empty, it won't be. There are people still coming.
All right, fair enough.
I just don't think it makes any sense to throw money at building a stadium when that could be used to really build the program, build up the salaries, and just do it that way.
Okay, fair enough. Matt is transitioning from where he was.
It's new Matt.
Okay. Anything else you guys would like to add?
I'm good.
No. Okay. Next topic we will discuss as I plug my Ethernet in, and I will be slightly delayed, so we'll see how this goes for the next about minute. But James Milner and Vincent Kompany at the Etihad, a bunch of ex-City players that played with Kompany are coming out to the match, and Man City fans are making a huge deal about current Liverpool player James Milner is supposed to play, because for some reason he is the most hated person by City fans. We don't really have too many people to hate. For a little background, Dave's looking like he has no idea the entire backstory. So yeah, Milner, his last year at City, there was something where he ran his contract down, got a bonus from City, like a big bonus from City, and then still signed with Liverpool, like based on the date he signed. And everyone, all the City fans on Twitter and stuff like that, call him like a cash grabber and all this stuff. Me personally, Milner basically was a rotation player and never complained once on Man City for years and years. And then he went to a club where I assume he was going to play more. I have no problem with what he did. I understand he took some money from the club, but I mean, it was part of how his contract was set up. Christian, I'll start with you. Do you think there's going to be any problem with him being at Man City for the game? And do you think you have any issues with what he did?
I absolutely have no problems with him playing in this game. I don't have any problems with what he did in going to Liverpool either, because he was being played out of position when he was at Manchester City. He was mostly used on the right wing as a rotation player, not really as a true starter. I think at center mid, he's been much better because that is his true position. That's where he knows how to play. And yes, he's been used at left back at Liverpool, specifically in his first season or two. But that's just the type of player he is. He's happy to do that, but he knew Klopp told him, and I think he came in under Klopp. I'm not 100% sure if he came under Rodgers now thinking back, but I'm pretty sure he signed when Klopp after Klopp's first half season. Klopp told him, I will be playing you at center mid, similar to the way he did with Oxlade-Chamberlain. And I think that is really important to just to James Milner. And I don't have any problem with him leaving Man City. I don't know why City have a problem with him leaving if he was just a backup player either.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I have no problems with this. Honestly, this is the first time I'm hearing Man City fans even had a problem with James Milner. I didn't even know that. I didn't know about the contract situation. And I mean, players got to look out for themselves. And I find it really odd that they're faulting him in this scenario. And then on top of it, I think it is slightly odd that he's coming back and playing in the testimonial, just being in mid-season, risking potential injury and stuff like that. I know a lot of times these testimonials happen either outside of the season or with players that are retired. So it is just slightly odd from that perspective. But thinking back, I know Bastian Schweinsteiger had one, I think last year, and the Chicago Fire players flew over and the Bayern players, active players played in it. So I guess it's not that out of the ordinary. Yeah, It strikes me as slightly odd, but not really.
Yeah, Steven Gerrard also had his, and I think Torres, Suarez, all of them were in midseason with their teams in La Liga, and they played in that game. So okay. I don't think it's that. Yeah, I don't think it's that obscure.
Do we know of any players that have ever gotten injured in a testimonial game?
I'm sure it's happened, but I can't think of any.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was just curious if we know.
And we're happy to have Matt back in live. So, Matt, thank you for doing that. We're good. He's okay.
I can't believe it worked. Anything else you guys want to add on this?
No, I'm good.
Nope.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up Matt's Megs. Well, thank you for joining me.
What about Liverpool?
Dave. James Milner, the Liverpool legend, as Dave just pulls a Christian here.
I went to go give a very enthusiastic thumbs up, and I forgot I have wires here, and so I knocked some stuff out. So my apologies there, Matt, as you were doing your outro.
Thanks for joining me, everybody. Listen to a little bit of music and listen to our interview with a soccer noob coming up.
Check out our friends over at Stadium Scene if you're going to any stadium in the US or Canada for any sport. They have information like where to park near the stadium, what events are happening in the area, what bars and restaurants to go to, and what best to do in the stadium. So check that out. Matt, tell them about what else they have on Stadium Scene.
Well, they also partner with content creators like ourselves and offer you things like podcasts, what we're doing right now, blog posts, YouTube videos, just great content. And it's not just soccer, all sports, North America. Go get and check them out. StadiumScene.tv.
All right, listeners, welcome back from that break. I am here with Matthew Ridout, a.k.a. Soccer Noob, our Premier League August Quick Kick Picks winner. So Noob came through Noob, let me welcome you. Say hello. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hi, doing well, thanks. And yes, congratulations to Christian. I don't know if all the listeners know all the exact scoring method that you used, but he had a incredible comeback on the last the weekend straddling August and September to overtake me and a few others that were in a tie bunch. So
Absolutely. So, yeah, for those who don't know, Quick Kick Picks is a game that we play predicting MLS and Premier League games. And if you get the home team score correct, you get a point. The away team score correct, you get a point. If you get the result of the match correct, you get a point. If you get all three of those correct, you get 5 points. What Noob is alluding to, Christian predicted 5 scores correct on the last game week and match week. So match week 4, the last week in August, and ended up getting 29 points, which was, Noob, you actually came through in second in our last game week with 19 points. That's a pretty good week from you, but Christian had this storming comeback, and so he finished the month of August with 59 points in first. And Noob, you were our second place finisher with 56 points, and we said we're not going to interview Christian because he gets enough FaceTime on the podcast, so we're going to have you back on. But let's talk about, you know, your Premier League fandom and specifically Quick Kick Picks. I know you have an interesting strategy, so you want to tell us kind of how you go about predicting your Premier League Quick Kick Picks?
Sure. Well, my Twitter and website handle, Soccer Noob, may be used by some people ironically. It is not with me. I did not grow up watching soccer. I don't know a ton about soccer. I've spent the last nearly 2 years trying to catch up, and while I'm sure I've learned by leaps and bounds, my methodology was this. I looked at last year's results at the same stadiums with the same teams and typed in the exact same scores, except that I didn't if a team scored 4 goals, I whittled that down to 3. That was the only judgment call I made.
All right. Well, clearly it was an effective strategy early in the season. It'll be interesting. So how did you approach if it was a newly promoted team? So what were you doing with those? Newly promoted
teams, I usually, if they were at home, gave them a goal. If they were away, I gave them no goals. And then I looked at the average goals scored against non-top 6 teams, for the more traditional or non-promoted Premier League team, and went with that for a score.
All right, there you go. And clearly it was an effective strategy. You kicked my ass. I came through with 41 points. I was way down there. I was in 6th place for this month. And Drew Pels came through in 3rd with 52. Matt came through with 47 in 4th, and then Drew Deal had 43 points. And those were all the people that made predictions on an ongoing basis. And then we had 13 different people make predictions throughout the month. So if you guys want to get involved, listeners, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's where you can check out the videos, or check out our YouTube. We have one long video on there, so you can do all that. And Noob, I know you are also an AFC Bournemouth fan. So how are you feeling about their season thus far?
1 win, 1 draw in 4 matches for the Premier League season. It's not the hot start they got off to last year, but it's a small market team. You're kind of wait and see. Last year, I'm not really knowing any better. I was daydreaming about, I wonder if they can compete for a Europa League spot. Could they get to European competition? And what should have been last year, and perhaps will be this year, is a more realistic approach of, well, Aston Villa's probably not going to go back down. They'll start climbing eventually a little bit. Can Bournemouth stay in the Premier League? That's my baseline of hope and expectation, is that they can stay up. But the defense against teams that are likely to finish in the top half of the table is not good right now. Their last performance, their game against Leicester City, was not happy times. It was sad times, in fact.
All right, fair enough. So you think they'll be dragged into a relegation fight?
I'm hopeful, realistically hopeful that maybe that they can flirt with competing for, like 10th place. But I think that's probably at the highest end of their expectations. Their budget simply is what it is. I mean, their best player on offense so far this year has been a guy that I'm sure you're very familiar with. You know who I'm referring to.
Ryan Fraser.
They got him on loan from
Harry Wilson.
Harry Wilson. They got him on loan from Liverpool this year. He is the only guy. I don't know if it's Premier League or if it's Premier League plus their Carabao Cup match, but he's the only guy so far with 2 goals. And, from a layperson's eyes like me, he's looked tremendous. So happy to have him, but I have a question for you.
Of course.
So for any newbites in the audience like me, this is for you guys. When someone is on loan, what does that mean in terms of who's paying his salary, and what, if any, rights does Liverpool have to bring him back into their fold this season or next season?
So it all depends. Every contract is different. Generally speaking, there is a loan agreement where you say, all right, team X, the home team or the team that owns the player will pay part of his salary, and the team taking him on will pay part of his salary. So Alexis Sanchez is an example where Manchester United is actually paying the majority of his salary, even though he's on loan at Inter. And so for a player like Harry Wilson, and Bournemouth and Liverpool have a pretty good relationship, I would imagine Bournemouth is covering most of his wages. I don't know, but it's going to be different for every single player. With regards to calling players back, there will usually be a clause in the agreement, a termination clause or something like that, where there will be a fee associated with calling a player back early. Or if Bournemouth say, either Harry Wilson gets hurt or they're just not using him anymore, they may mutually agree to terminate the loan, have it be not effective anymore, and he can go back for free. But it all kind of varies. There's no one set sort of rule. The one rule is specific to the Premier League, is that players on loan cannot play against their parent club. Other leagues, that is up for negotiation. The Premier League doesn't allow players to do that. And so that would be the one wrinkle that is sort of unique to the Premier League. So when Bournemouth meets Liverpool, they don't allow Harry Wilson to play against Liverpool.
It'll have to be Josh King and Calvin Wilson time, and that's about it.
There you go. So, so hopefully people, little education there. And, hopefully that's interesting. Any other questions or anything like that? Or you want to talk about your website?
I don't have any other questions. Sure. We can talk website real quick. Soccernoob.com is the one that I've been running for 2 years. I lost a soccer unrelated gentleman's bet to a guy I referred to as the management on my website 2 years ago. Picked a topic that he knew I didn't know anything about, said, write about this every day for 1 year. And so we picked soccer, and it's just kept going. So the original format of the site was me doing mini previews of games mostly. The 10 to track, and that was big leagues in Europe, America, and then leagues and tournaments from all over the world, places most people don't talk about, Tahiti, Nepal, Indonesia. So I kind of learned a little bit of everything and a lot about nothing. And then it's infused with a lot of comedy, since I can't bring a lot of true soccer content. The more current format has been that I have presented myself as the only international journalist covering the Isle of Sodor Premier League, whose FA Cup is about to start. They organized last year as an FA, and their FA Cup and Premier League season are going to get going very shortly. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of fake teams are doing what, and what sort of articles I find to lampoon throughout the week on non-match days.
Yeah, and so for those who aren't picking up on the joke, which I wasn't for quite some time, it is a fictional league, and Noob sort of takes things happening in the real world and sort of like melds them into what's happening in this fictional league. And it's a really just creative and interesting way of just blending what's happening in the real world with creative writing, and it's a lot of fun. It's funny, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So make sure to check out soccernoob.com.
Yeah. Will Rivard of World Tottenham Hotspur once said that he enjoys it because it doesn't have the same old transfer news and content as so many other websites. I've always said, I know I'm doing something no one else is doing. The question is there a reason no one else is doing it? So time will tell. But interestingly, I sort of approached them as they were trawling, but there is a group out there that has started a new entertainment website that claims they're going to do a lot of content, and they have approached me. So it's possible that I will consider doing both the Isle of Sodor Premier League on my site, and I may revive the old format under still the Soccer Noob Nomer under their site. So God help us, it could be coming back.
All right. And where can people follow you on Twitter just to stay updated with everything you got going on?
I am at American Soccer Noob on Twitter is the handle.
Is it, or is it just, I think it's just Soccer Noob. I think American Soccer Noob is our Slack name.
Oh, but I get it so confused. Somebody else owned one of them. I'm sure if you just search for Soccer Noob, you'll find me. Soccer Noob USA. That's what it is.
Yes, there it is. And so make sure to do that. And Noob, I don't think I've ever asked you this before. I know you said you weren't knowledgeable about soccer when you had the gentleman's bet and ultimately decided on that. Did you have a curiosity about the sport? Like, why did you ultimately pick soccer versus, badminton or some other sport or something like that?
It's the same reason that I look at stuff all over the world. I'm interested, I want to know about the game, how it's played on the field, the positions, and what to watch for, triangles and defense and offense, and having options, and that will all come with time. But as a liberal arts major in college, I just sort of have a curiosity about the world. So when I'm looking up things about what's happening on the small island countries soccer-wise in CONCACAF, or I'm following, the Japanese Women's League or the rankings in Asia of all their domestic leagues, it's a curiosity about this sport that brings everyone together, that everyone, including Americans now, the last certainly 20 years, thankfully, really, really love. And the politics involved and the social aspects, that's those are the things that really, really interest me. And then soccer is just this fun paradigm to look at it through, this neat lens to witness it all.
I think that's very well said, and that's definitely something that draws me to the game as well. So do you have anything else, any other questions or topics you wanted to cover before I know you have a quiz game for us again, but anything else you want to talk about before we get into that?
No, quiz game.
All right. So maybe I'll just set it up. So for those who don't know, Noob was our June MLS Quick Kick Picks champion, and at the end of the interview, he had a game that he put together where he asked me questions. I have not prepared for this in any way, and I did my best to answer. And then on our website, so podcast listeners will know, we have a buy us a shot option. Matt always does a fantastic job of plugging that, Matt, my brother. And on our website, you can buy us a shot. So $3, you can buy as many as you want, and it helps support the show through, just covering costs and all of that. And so I think with this, every correct question I answer, I believe I get a shot bought by Noob. And I think that's how we approach this. Correct, Noob?
You have the right of it.
Okay.
Cash money on the table. Cash on the barrelhead.
All right. Let's over to you. So let's get this going.
All right. So your first question today, Dave, is completely non-soccer oriented. It relates to a sports story I saw today. At the Vuelta a España International Stage Bicycle Race. It's one of the biggest ones. I'd never heard of it, but a helicopter camera yesterday caught a view of something while covering the cycling race that led to a police action. Do you know what it was?
I have no idea. Someone stealing bread.
Incorrect. There was a giant marijuana cultivation going on top of an apartment building, and the police raided and snagged 40 plants. No arrests have been made yet, but and actually growing it is not illegal there, but there are government limits on the size, and apparently 40 plants is too damn many.
All right.
So the police snagged their ganj. Go figure. All right. So I'm sorry you didn't get that one, but let's move on to the next one. All right. From my first ever visit on your show, I mentioned we talked about Usain Bolt and his soccer dreams. All right, question. Do you remember which league he was on a club team training with?
The A-League in Australia?
That is correct, Cash. Cash money. You can describe to the listeners what you're seeing. So
the listeners who are just listening to the podcast, we also record live on YouTube. Noob has a stack of bills, which he has hidden until just now. And so when I got that correct, he made it rain there. So that was hilarious.
Kind of the hip-hop strip club scene. Yeah. You didn't know that I had skills to pay bills.
I did not.
Me in either of those. What team was Usain Bolt training with?
See, this is, I want to say Wellington, but I know that that's the New Zealand team. I don't know. Yeah.
The incredibly bad Central Coast Mariners.
Oh, yes. Okay.
What position was he training for?
Striker.
Left winger.
Okay.
Okay. Question. What is Usain Bolt doing now that he has given up on his soccer dreams?
I would imagine he is a studio analyst.
He has started an e-scooter company called Bolt Mobility with e-scooters that go 15 miles an hour.
All right, I was close.
It was in America, and then it's doing very well in Paris from what I was reading. All right, next question. Do I, Noob, have any idea if 15 miles an hour is fast for an e-scooter or ironically slow because it's Usain Bolt?
I'm going to go with no, you don't have an idea.
I have no idea. That's correct. That's 2. All right. Multiple choice. Back to more true traditional soccer. Under what name was now AFC Bournemouth first established? Were they A, Bournemouth and Boscombe Athletic FC, Boscombe St. John's Institute FC, or have they always been known as simply AFC Bournemouth?
No, I know they haven't always been known because I do Soccer Tavern videos, and so I know it's either A or B. I'm gonna say it was B.
Boscombe St. John's Institute FC is correct. All right, so that's 3. I'm running out of bills. I've got to go get a better job. All right, did AFC Bournemouth before this current stretch since 2015-16? Have they ever played in the Premier League before?
No.
No, that is correct. I'm never going to get into a rap video this way. I'm dropping money. This is terrible. I didn't think this through at all. Okay, let's see here. Did AFCB ever win any of the other top four tiered, or any of the other top three tiered leagues?
I don't think so. I think every promotion has been without actually winning.
Incorrect in this. Oddly enough, they spent most of their history bouncing between the third and fourth tiers in English football. They've never been promoted as a winner from the fourth tier, but they have won the championship in League One in 2000, the year before they came up to Premier League, 2014-15, I want to say, and then back in the 80s, they won League One. All right, next AFCB Mormouth question regards Coach Eddie Howe. Do I, Noob, consistently misremember his name and constantly refer to him in my own mind as Gordie Howe?
I would say yes.
That is correct as well. All right, final question. You've got 4 so far. Okay, this one's about Liverpool, near and dear to your heart. Coach manager Jurgen Klopp, who, a season or 2 back, appeared to get dentures of some kind. With his new choppers, and this is multiple choice again, sort of, does Jurgen Klopp look more like a creepy pedophile uncle?
Okay,
that's why I said it was sort of multiple choice. That's the only choice.
Yeah, he does have an odd look to him. As much as I love him as manager.
There, the final wad of money got thrown in the air. So congratulations, Dave. You got 5 of those correct. So I will be donating 5 shots to the Bros Talking Soccer Empire. Thank you so much for having me on and letting me carpet bomb yet another episode of your fine podcast show.
No, so thank you so much for all your support. I know we've connected. It feels like probably 2 years ago at this point, and I've just appreciated your support. Thank you so much for joining us. Quick reminder for everyone again: people can find your website. It is soccernoob.com, correct?
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm looking for money now.
Okay, and then make sure to follow him on Twitter. It is at, I think, Soccer Noob USA. Search for Soccer Noob, and I'm sure you will find him. Noob, thank you so much for joining me and talking with me today, and congrats again on the Quick Kick Picks victory.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome to Christian's Corner. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Noob, who just won our Quick Kick Pick soccer game. If you don't know what that is, definitely check out Quick Kick Picks. We're over on Twitter, on the Bros Talking Soccer Twitter at BT Soccer Pod, and we're also on YouTube with that. So definitely check us out. It's a game where we predict the scores for MLS and the Premier League, and if you win at the end of the month, you get to come on our podcast for a 15-minute interview, which you just heard Noob, who actually finished second. All right, so that is so I won if you didn't get that from my laugh. All right, so we're going to jump right into my topics here, and I'm going to start with one Lionel Messi. I don't know if you guys have heard of this guy before, but he's pretty good at soccer. Matt, I'll go to you first here with my topic, which is going to be his contract. He is now 32, which triggered a clause in his contract allowing him to leave at the end of any of his seasons. Like in June of any season, he is allowed to leave without any payment or anything. It's up to his discretion. Do you think that's crazy for Barcelona to put that contract in, or do you think he's actually deserved that right?
Well, he's deserved that right. I know in the media this week, the only thing I've really seen is that they're trying to get him on a lifetime contract, and they're like offering that to him. I mean, it is up to him, and I think he has earned that right. He's done a lot for the club, brought them many, many trophies. And I mean, I'm sure they did a lot for him as, coming through the youth academy and things like that. So he's just been part of Barcelona for, a majority of his life now. I think it would be weird for him to leave, but I think it's up to him.
All right. And if you're not watching on YouTube, definitely check it out. You can see Dave showing off his one trophy in the background. So, Dave, what do you think about Messi's contract?
Yeah, so before we get into that, just listeners of the podcast, you're missing out on tons of amazing content, because while each of us is speaking, pretty much the other two are doing something to distract them or all that. So that's why. So check out our YouTube. All right, so getting back to the Messi conversation, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a business. As much as he has brought Barcelona trophies and all that, I mean, he's been compensated, and I think he's earned the right, so to speak, to I guess walk away. But this does strike me as really, really odd from Barcelona to have that in there. I don't know why it's really in there, to be honest. I mean, I guess he wouldn't have signed it without that, but it still just really strikes me as odd for someone who has played there his entire professional career. I mean, if he wants another opportunity, then he should just run down his contract. It strikes me as odd that it's sort of like a not unilateral. What is it? One way of being able to just terminate the contract and move on, which I guess is unilateral, right?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, it strikes me as odd here. So it's very weird for me.
It's definitely odd, but I think that he has earned that right. And although it is a business, it is pretty much like a 1-year deal that they're offering him every single year until he wants to stop. So I think that they can prepare for that. He'll probably tell them in advance. I don't think June's going to come up and he's going to be like, okay, guys, bye. I think he's probably going to tell them at least in January at the latest if it's his last season. I assume he would probably tell them a season in advance. And I think he has earned that right. I think he has made that club absolutely. And yes, they were already immense before him, but he has taken them to a new level in the past 10 years, 15 years, whatever it's been, probably 15 years at this point. He has probably been the best player on the planet. And it's incredibly amazing to watch him play. I hope he does come to the Philadelphia Union. For all the people who are commenting on YouTube right now, they're saying he's coming to MLS. Union only, in my opinion. But yeah, he has earned this right, absolutely. Anything else you want to say about this topic?
I don't know if he has earned this right. I just want to say that. So, like, I don't agree with the earning the right. At the end of the day, it's a business transaction. When he loses his usefulness, he will most likely be discarded by Barcelona. So I don't know if it's necessarily that he's earned this right, but I think it's good for him. I think this is smart. So that's where I stand. Matthew.
Well, I also don't think that he needs to give Barcelona time to, prepare for life without him. I think they've been trying to do that for the last couple of years now, and I think they realized, especially this year without Messi being injured, they're not very good without him. They need something. They need another huge player. I think that's why it seemed like they were pretty desperate to get Neymar. But I think they know after Messi they're going to hit a lull, and that's why they're trying to hit him with this lifetime contract. But at 32, I mean, an injury can happen to him at this age, and it would be normal. I know he's been pretty healthy his entire career. A couple injuries here and there, but he's been relatively healthy, and I think they need to. They know they have to prepare without him, Dave.
Yeah. So for Barcelona, Christian, this contract, I don't fully understand it. So does he have like a 5-year contract, but at the end of it,
correct,
he can always walk away, but Barcelona can't terminate, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it's not like a 1-year contract's renewing. It is.
No.
All right. That makes sense.
He has a 5-year deal, but at the end of every season, he has the right to leave. All right? Understood?
Yes.
All right. I just want to throw out there that, Sal, you and I are going to fight at some point if you keep commenting. All right. So anyone else have anything on this Messi comment? No? Good?
Well,
right,
I understand what Sal's comment was. I was reading it for about a solid 2 minutes there. Matt has light, and then he celebrates saying woo, because I'm usually in the dark.
Yes.
I was like, what is a light? What's a light
What's
woo?
a light woo? All right, so we're going to move on to our next topic. This is pretty bad. I'm just going to say that right now. So Albania was playing France in France this week. France ended up winning this game 4-1, but Albania refused to play at this kickoff because during the national anthems, the Andorra anthem was played, and everyone just looked really confused, as you would if your national anthem is not being played. And then after that, the PA announcer apologizes to the Armenia fans. Those are just 3 different A countries in Europe that they just messed up all of it. Like, what on earth? Dave, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
So I didn't know anything about it till I read this probably an hour ago, and I just was laughing hysterically. Obviously, it is offensive to the Albanians. But I mean, this story on the surface is like somewhat harmless and it's kind of funny, right? Like they just got a bunch of A countries mixed up, like you just said. And so they played the wrong anthem, which we've seen before. But then the PA announcer getting on the horn and saying the wrong country name on top of it, which wasn't even the country name of the anthem that they played. So it's just like so many incorrect things happening here. It's just a giant calamity, and it kind of it's funny to me. It's funny to me.
And so France is playing Andorra next, so I guess that's probably where the confusion began, but that's still just something. It is definitely offensive. It is funny from an outside perspective. Yes, it is offensive, but there are so many, like I understand where the confusion can arise from.
Yeah,
Matt, what do you think? I'm not talking to you anymore.
No.
Matt,
Just one.
Well, okay. I got a little confused with all the A's. We're talking about Albania, right?
Yes.
All right. One of those A's. But so I don't think it's too big of a deal. I think they made it out to be a little bit bigger of a deal than it probably should have been. It is a little bit disrespectful, but I mean, get over it. And Dave, I'll just let you talk. You want to talk so bad.
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I saw on Twitter, somebody posted it. I think it was a couple of years ago. I don't know how this happened. I think it was Malta. They were supposed to play their national anthem. It was some country, and they played Linkin Park's "Numb." Like the first few seconds of it, and I saw it on Twitter today, and I started dying.
That is very funny. Yeah. All right, Dave, what do you want to add?
Funny enough, on that topic, I just downloaded the Jay-Z Linkin Park mashup album on iTunes literally yesterday. So I just downloaded that. Highly recommend.
What's it called?
I can't remember.
Collision Course.
What's it called?
Collision Course.
Collision Course. Yes. I had it back when I was in like middle school or high school on like regular CD, but whatever. Anyways, we're not talking about Linkin Park. What I wanted to say before is like if the US was playing someone and they played like the United Kingdom anthem and then they said we apologize to the United Arab Emirates, like I wouldn't take offense. Like I would find all of that very, very funny. So for me, I guess I can understand why Albania was upset, but for me, I just would have found it hilarious that they got it all wrong.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. Yes, I can understand why people would be upset in this situation. But like if I was on the field, obviously in my U.S. national career, if I was on the field and they played the English national anthem, I would just be dying laughing on the sideline that they messed it up that badly. Like that is just so ridiculous. And how are they not prepared? It is absolutely, like, in my opinion, it's unacceptable from France's perspective to mess it up that badly. Like, I don't think that they're going to be punished, and I really don't think that they should be punished too heavily if there is anything. But that is just, slap on the wrist. Is that a
possibility? That they're going to be punished?
I haven't seen that at all, but I'm just starting rumors.
It's wild speculation.
Anything else you want to add on this topic, either of you?
I mean, no. The Linkin Park thing is more understandable because, like, they probably just hit the wrong button. This one, they got just, like, the complete wrong anthem and then said the wrong country. So the Linkin Park one, though,
and it's
probably
not even
funnier.
Like they said the wrong country, which was the anthem they played.
Oh, exactly.
Said another wrong thing.
It's another A country, yeah. So overall, I would say this is more egregious than the Linkin Park one, where it seems like they just hit the wrong button. But all of them are funny to me.
Yeah, definitely. Can I ask you to do me a favor, David, and move off of the cell that you're on in the Google Doc so that I can read? All right, so we're going to move over to my last topic here, which is the FIFA ratings have come out for the top 100 players. So we're going to kind of go around, like not just talk about FIFA in general, the FIFA video game, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. They have ranked, I'm going to go over the top 10 players here, and I want to get your opinions on who is overrated, who is missing and is underrated. Dave is choking himself with his wires. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
I was trying to go around. I was trying to spin around. That didn't work out the way I envisioned.
So I'm just going to read through the top 10 here. We got Messi as a 94 overall. We've got Ronaldo at a 93. Neymar at a 92. Hazard and Kevin De Bruyne at 91. Oblak also at 91. I forgot about that one. And then we've got Salah, Modric, Virgil van Dijk, and Ter Stegen at 90s. Matt, I'll start with you because you're more of a FIFA player than Dave is, and also it's your turn. So do you think that these 10 players are the 10 best players in the world, or who do you think is missing and should not be there?
Well, just off the top of my head, Modric, I don't know what he necessarily did over the last season to deserve a 90. I know he's the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, which I completely forgot about. I know Real Madrid struggled last year, and I don't think he's necessarily their best player anymore. Well, I guess Hazard now is a 91, but I don't really see him being that good anymore. Not a top 10 player. A player that's left off, I don't know. For me, maybe Bernardo Silva. I don't know. Just one.
Okay, that makes sense. Dave, what do you think about this top 10? Who do you think should be coming in and out?
Well, so I think Mane could arguably be in here. I mean, he's kind of produced at almost the same level as Salah over the last year or so. After Salah's miraculous season, was it 2 years ago? I think Mane could have a decent shout here. I'm with Matt on Bernardo Silva. I think he's just absolutely fantastic. So he's a shout here. I also think Ronaldo could probably be dropped down. I think a 93 is probably a little bit too high for him at this point. I know he's a ridiculous finisher, but the rest of his game, is starting to drop off a little bit, in my opinion. So I think he could probably drop down, and you could probably move a couple of these other guys higher. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, also, I don't know. I was thinking Alisson might be in here, but Ter Stegen's really good as well. But yeah, or Ederson could be in here as well. But
Alisson's an 89, Ederson's an 88.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So yeah, I didn't know that. So yeah, that's what's Mane then? 88. Okay. So yeah, I think you'll probably move Mane up to top 10 though.
All right, so I'm going to take over here, and I'm going to rant for a little bit, everybody. So I hope everybody's ready for this. Strap in. It's going to be fun. All right, Ronaldo, definitely rated too highly. I think, okay, everybody's leaving. That's hilarious. All right, so I think that Ronaldo definitely should be max 92. I think he's probably more like a 91 at this point. He is a true striker. He's obviously still very, very talented, but he is not the player that he once was, and it's very clear when you watch him play. Neymar has been injured for like 3 straight years now. What the hell is he doing up there? At this point, he should easily be in the 80s, probably like an 88 overall. Obviously he's a very, very good talent, but he has no business. I don't even think he's in the top 10 players in the world right now, just because we don't know. We haven't seen him play really consistently at the top level for long enough. After that, Modric, my lord, I know he is the Ballon d'Or right now. No, he should not even be above like an 86 in my opinion right now. He has been very, very subpar in the past season, and it's just unacceptable to me that they put him that highly in there. The players I would put in, definitely Bernardo Silva. I agree with Matt. He should definitely be in that top 10. I would definitely say that Firmino is a better player than Salah and Mane. I know he doesn't put up the same stats as they do. He is a better player overall. He deserves to be given the credit for that. He's not a type of player that I think EA is looking at to be a star, but he is. He is the most important player outside of Virgil van Dijk on that Liverpool team.
But his attributes. I agree he's important, but his attributes, he does a lot of things well, but he's not, I don't know if he does anything exceptional that is going to get him the ratings up there. So I agree Firmino is fantastic, but I just don't think you can rate him that high. The way video games. Okay. Sorry.
That's fine. But yeah, I would also put Alisson over Ter Stegen right now. I think Ter Stegen is an absolutely brilliant goalkeeper, but between the two right now, I think Alisson and Oblak are the top 2 goalkeepers in the world, and it's pretty clear. Oblak being the best, I think, is true. Atletico's goalkeeper is absolutely brilliant in the net. That's really all I think I have here, and I agree that Mane is probably correctly at an 88 right now. Matthew, please go ahead.
All right. I forgot. I would probably put Mbappe in the top 10 over Modric.
He's an 89. Yeah, he is an 89 right now.
But he's definitely a top 10 player. And I'll just go ahead and disagree with that whole Neymar spiel not being a top 10 player, as he's clearly PSG's probably still the best player
Yeah, but we can't prove that. Like, you haven't seen him consistently play.
I mean, De Bruyne's a 91, and he didn't even play last year. He had 2 goals and 3 assists.
Yeah, but we've seen him this year be dominant, and we saw what he did before, and he was only out for 1 year. Neymar has been out multiple years with serious injuries. It's hard to tell what he really is as a player.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, that's fine. Dave, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I was going to say Mbappe deserved to be in the top 10, but Matt beat me to it. So that's why I was throwing a hissy fit before. Christian, I would probably skew more towards Christian's side with Neymar. We haven't seen him at his best in a few years, so I would drop him down a little bit. I think he's still probably top 10, but I just think he's a little bit high. Also, just side note, I don't like how you put these numbers are confusing. So you put the number first and then you put the players. That confused the hell out of me. Okay. So Neymar's a 92?
He is a 92.
Okay. Yeah, I think you could drop him down to maybe like a 90. Just, again, I think avoiding injuries is a big part of a soccer player's career. So that's where I'd say that.
All right, Matt, you want to rebuttal there? You look like you do.
This is a stupid argument.
Injuries ruin a player's career, and we've seen it over and over again. I don't know why you think that's crazy.
Yeah, but there's literally a setting in the game where it's like a trait where you're injury prone. I mean, yeah, it could happen. But when he plays, his attributes are easily top 5 in the world. And Dave wants to talk about attributes. I mean,
but you don't know that anymore. We haven't seen him.
Yeah, you do. What do you mean? Yes, we do.
Well, I don't know what his quickness. Matt Christian's point is like, what is his
you're
quickness?
saying that Fernando Torres was the best striker in the world. He got injured and he never recovered. He was the best striker in the world at the time.
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. We are.
It always comes back to Liverpool.
Yeah. Neymar is great. I don't know.
You could see Sané is arguably the best winger in the league, and he gets injured, and you could see that he'll never come back. It could happen. I'm not saying he
has the exact same rating as last year. Why aren't we mad about that?
Because he played all of last year.
Yeah, but you're saying. So I mean, they know he's hurt now. I don't know.
Yeah,
but he wasn't out a full. Like, you could see it next year, maybe that he'll drop maybe 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah, I think what Christian's saying, we haven't seen Neymar in a while. And so these ratings are based off of, how he was like quickness wise and acceleration and all of those stats, pre-injury. Does he still have that same breakaway pace? I think technically on the ball, yeah, his skills are out of this world. But some of those other things, I think is what I skew more towards Christian's point. I'm not saying he should be out of the top 10, Matt, or anything like that. You're acting like we're saying he should be like an 83 and not even be mentioned. We're saying he should drop down a little bit because we don't know if he is still at this level.
Yep. All right. Well, Matt's flipping us off. So I guess that'll wrap up Christian's Corner. I hope everybody had a good time. Let us know what you think about those things because it's very interesting to us to hear. Because EA is just a machine that doesn't really know that much about soccer. So that is a thing. We are going to move on. You see, Sal's comment sums it up perfectly. It's just FIFA. They don't really know what they're doing. I added that last part, but that is what he meant. All right. Thanks for stopping by Christian's Corner. I hope you had a good time. And we're going to go to a little musical break. And then you're going to hear, I don't know if it's an interview, but I'm pretty sure it is. And then we'll be back with Dave's Domestic Dive.
Hello, mates. I'm Jack.
I'm Kenny.
And we are the hosts of Rock and Roll Up, the music and wrestling podcast.
Rock and Roll Up is a weekly music and wrestling podcast with our signature wacky comedy twist.
Oh, it's so wacky.
Expect news,
special episodes,
controversial hot takes,
and comedy features such as Kenny's rant,
Jack's joke of the week,
and of course, pun association,
musical fruit,
John Lemon.
So wacky.
So like, comment, share and subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher and SoundCloud.
You can get involved with the conversation at Rock Roll Up Pod on Twitter and at Rock and Roll Up Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Are you ready to step inside the ring with these two heavyweights?
Big time.
Peace out.
Welcome, everyone, to a special Bros Talking Soccer podcast interview. I am joined today by Todd Lewis from the Free Kick Pod, who was our August MLS Quick Kick Picks champion. Todd, hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you doing today?
I am doing well as well. So we're excited to have you on. And so quick recap. You came in first. You were, I think, our first official actual champion because Christian has won everything else. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. I was a little bit disappointed, though. I wanted to get 100 points, so came short of it. So.
Yeah, but still very impressive. You came through with 93. Christian was in second with 83, and then Soccer Noob 74, along with Sal with 74. I had 73. Doopy Brothers had 70. Wesley Harton had 70, and then everyone else wasn't. We had 15 people play, but they just kind of had one-off predictions. So of the people that gave predictions every week, you crushed it, man. 93 points. What's your secret to success?
My secret. So at first, when I started doing this, I started using Sofa Soccer, Who Scored, and I was like, you know what? All this stuff's not working for me. So I was like, I'm not like I can look at however many games I want to. I can look at who's in form, who's been playing well, who plays good against his team. None of that stuff matters to me. I came to realize in MLS. So what I do is I will go on. I forget what the Score. I think that's an app. It might not be, but I'll look and see the last time the teams played, and then I'll look and see where they are in scoring goals, and then I just go with whatever my heart feels like going with. So, I mean, it's really no formula like your formula.
Yeah, well, the thing is, my formula does not work. So Christian has the same strategy as you. Noob's got his own strategy. And I think more and more I'm realizing, specifically with MLS, but just these predictions in general, like you can't predict it. And it's more, you can't predict it with a formula, I should say. And honestly, your strategy of going with your heart is probably more effective. So I'm going to keep going with my numbers and hope it works out at some point, but it hasn't been successful thus far.
I love analytics too, but it's showing me this whole season that MLS isn't working with analytics, so that all goes out the window. So
yeah, it's a model breaker, MLS. You cannot predict what the hell's going to happen. And speaking of that, I don't think either of us predicted that the Union would be fighting near the top of the Eastern Conference this late into the season. I know you're a Union fan. How you feeling about the season? How you feeling about the rest of what do we have? Like 5 games left, I think.
Six.
Okay.
Five. You're right. Yep. 2 at home and then 3 on the road. Yep. You're right. And man, you said it best. Who would have thought the Union would have been near the top of the table this late in the season? And I'll tell you what, watching LAFC lose to Minnesota 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and then they tied Orlando City, which they were losing at one point in that game. You know, I'm pretty confident now that we can at least get a draw when LAFC come in Saturday. Because I'll tell you the truth, like looking at that schedule a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, we're going to go in here, we're going to lose, you know, as long as we don't get blown out, I'm fine with that. But honestly, like seeing what LAFC's done the last 2 games and what we have done has been really, really impressive, and especially the home crowd. So for people that don't know, I go to every single home game, sit in the River End, and the energy level's been top notch the last couple games and everything. So, I mean, if the fans can keep bringing it, I really do think that the fans like motivate the players, like push them that extra step and everything. And even Jim Curtin said it his last couple press conferences. So hopefully any Philadelphia Union fans that are listening out there, hopefully you guys can keep it up and we can keep pushing the boys to the top.
Yeah. I've been very jealous that I can't be at the games. I was in Portland last weekend and I was watching on my phone, and you know the game against Atlanta, and that was just, it looked like an incredible atmosphere. I mean, what was it like sitting in the River End?
Dude, it was crazy. So I mean, once Casper scored facing the River End, like we all got excited, and honestly it didn't look like it was offsides, but then when I got home and watched the replay, I was like, yeah, Marco Fabian was offsides. And Joseph Martinez, I mean, this guy, I think he's better than Carlos Vela in the MLS. Maybe if I see Carlos Vela next week, maybe I'll say otherwise, but watching Joseph Martinez in person, the camera doesn't pick up on all of his runs. He makes such smart runs where his teammates aren't quick enough to get him the ball, or even if that's not the case, he opens up so much space for his teammates while he'll take an defender with him. He'll take 2 defenders, and I thought he could have had a hat trick against that game, against us in that game, and luckily he only got 1. But I mean, just the whole energy in that stadium, even with us going down a goal at halftime, I mean, we were still bringing it. As soon as we started the second half, it was just going, and then in the 62nd minute, whatever, when Brendan Erickson scored, I mean, that whole place went wild, and I think we were running out of smoke bombs because we scored 3 goals, so that was pretty awesome too. So I told my sister, because we went to the Pumas game last Saturday, which we won 3-0, which is pretty impressive being in a Mexican team, because everybody says Liga MX is so much stronger than MLS, and I know Pumas sit in 9th, but you know, anytime that you can beat a Liga MX team, especially when they start their starting lineup, I think that's pretty impressive. So the last 6 goals have been scored in Section 117, so which is the opposite end of the River End. So hopefully against LAFC, we can get some goals done at our end. But as long as they score, that's really all what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Goals are all that matter. But yeah, hopefully they can get one in front of the River End. So, 5 games left, 3 on the road, 2 at home. They're sitting in second in the East. If Atlanta, I think, wins their game in hand, that'll drop the Union to third. How you feeling about the rest of the season? Where do you think they ultimately finish?
Man, I think the minimum should be third, but I honestly do think that we can finish in first place. NYFC, they got so lucky this weekend against New England. I mean, that was such a BS penalty call. The red card was BS and everything. And we were, there was a whole bunch of us in the Union fan shop before our game against Puma started. We were surrounded by a TV watching and everything. As soon as the ref gave the penalty, that whole place got so pissed off. And it's like, are you serious? Like, why are you calling it, especially this late in the game? I do think, New York City, they play New England once again, and this time in New England. I think New England could get all 3 points. I think, their game coming into our stadium is going to be really intense, especially if we can keep that energy up that we've had the last couple of games. I don't think Atlanta's all that. If teams could play zonal marking like we did against them. At times we did get caught out, but, we did take Joseph Martinez out. And I know the Atlanta fans complain, we played 3 games in 8 days or whatever it was. Like, we were tired. That shouldn't be an excuse. Like, you're the defending champions. If you want to be the champions, there's no excuses. You just got to win your games. And, they were missing Barco, I think, or
Ezekiel Barco. Yep.
So, it's one player. They had the whole starting lineup. Like, if you're the best, you got to win your game. So, no excuses. So, I am pretty confident, and especially if we beat LAFC at home. I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm just really looking forward to it.
I know. It would be so cool having CONCACAF Champions League matches at the Union Stadium. So if they come first in the East, that's what they'll earn. I'm going to be at the NYCFC game, last game of the season. So I just hope that there's still something to play for there. And either way, it's going to be an electric atmosphere. But I'm really excited for the rest of this season.
The River End this time, Dave.
Yeah, I know. Christian loves to sit up at the bar because his friends buy tickets all over the place. Drives me a little crazy, but whatever. We'll be there in one way or another, and I don't know where we'll be sitting, but we'll be in the stadium, and that's what I'm excited about. What's that?
I said that's all what matters.
Exactly, yeah. So, but I'm excited about the Union's prospects the rest of this season. Now, switching gears a little bit, probably a little bit of a downturn over to the Premier League team you support. How are you feeling about Manchester United's season so far?
It's not the best start. I think Ole has 3 wins in his last 16 games, which is terrible. And you see Javi Gracia just got fired from Watford over the weekend for having a little bit similar run of games. And that makes you wonder, if Watford are sacking the manager, would United sack Ole? I went on my podcast a couple of weeks ago and said that United need to stick with Ole regardless of the results. We can't be one of these clubs that constantly sack managers because, these managers complain about, I want to bring in my players. Well, if you're constantly changing a manager, then you're constantly going to be getting rid of deadwood from the previous manager. So I did have United finishing in 5th in my season predictions. And, if they do finish there, that's great and everything. So far, it looks like top 4 is definitely out of the question. But, 4 games in, I still can't judge them that much. It is disappointing, 3 wins in the last 16 games and everything, but I'm just hoping, we could turn it around. And I know we play Liverpool here coming up, so things could go from worse to even worse. So I don't know. It is a touchy subject, you're right. So I wish we were talking more about the Union and instead of Manchester United. But, 4 games in, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it is early, and things can change around very quickly. And I'm someone who thinks that continuity in sports is completely underrated. And the longer you can have a manager or players in place, the better off they perform. And the Union is one of the best examples of that, where they're finally sort of turning a corner now. And they've signed a couple of good players, but they've had a manager for so long. They've had a lot of players who have been there for a while. And you see that players are, yes, there are otherworldly talented players in some instances, but more or less players need to be put in the right situations under the manager and know what to expect from the manager, and then they can be put into successful positions. And so ultimately, I think that that's something that's completely underrated. And I wouldn't be shocked if Ole starts to turn the corner with some of these things. So that's your little positive spin from a United perspective. And I swear, I feel like every year United plays Liverpool super tough and the games are incredibly ugly. And I feel like it's a draw every time. But so you got that to look forward to.
You got Mourinho sacked. So at Anfield.
Well, yeah. Forgot about that one. But I was remembering more the other times where it was 0-0 or 1-1 or just frustrating draws. So, who knows what's going to happen on that front. You got a lot of soccer still to be played this season. So, we'll see. I do think United finishes outside the top 4, but still a lot of time left. So anything else on the United front that you want to talk about?
Nope.
All right.
Let's move on.
All right. And so you also touched on your podcast. We've had you and your co-host Tyler on, but in case somebody's just listening for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about the Free Kick Pod?
Yeah. So we talk Premier League soccer, Champions League soccer. Our latest episode, we just talked about the United States future since they just lost to Mexico. I mean, not the biggest United States fan. Sorry for all you guys listening. I'm an England fan by heart, but I still want to see the United States do well in America because, soccer is the best sport in the world. So, you got to do well if you want to progress. And so I do want to see the United States do well because I want to see soccer progress in this country and I want to see it overtake the NFL, which, I mean, that's probably a ways off, but I think it's doable. So we'll see what happens with that. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, Premier League, Champions League, any of the latest topics in the world we'll talk about. And we record on Sundays, release Monday, and we release on Fridays. So that's kind of our schedule. We record 2 times a week. And sometimes if we have an interview, we'll do 3 times a week. But more than not, it's 2 times a week.
Absolutely. So check them out. We'll link. So this podcast interview. So if you're watching on YouTube, hello, we'll link to all of Todd's stuff and Free Kick Pod underneath. But if you're listening to the podcast, this interview is going into a mega episode. So it's going to have a couple interviews. So we'll link probably to your Twitter. Is that the best place to link, Todd? Is that where you want us to?
You can link our Twitter at Free Kick Pod, and you can find the podcast by searching the Free Kick Soccer Podcast or the Free Kick. I don't know why it's different on Spotify, just the Free Kick, not the Free Kick Soccer Podcast, but that's just the way we did it. So you guys can find us.
All right, there you go. So look out for them. Todd, thank you so much for being here, joining. Congrats again on being our first official Quick Kick Picks champion. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nah, I just let's go Union, and I don't know what you guys are going to talk about the rest of this episode, so I look forward to seeing whatever you guys are talking about, and hopefully we can see some bickering between Christian and Matt, so that's what I'm hoping for.
Oh yeah, so we got some interesting stuff. Matt had a couple of drinks during the U.S. men's national team game and was firing off some incredible tweets. So we will be messages to us, and so we will be discussing all of that. And so you got that to look forward to. And listeners, we will probably be talking about that in our next segment. So there you go. There's a little foreshadowing. Thank you very much for that transition, Todd. And have a great day. Everybody, go check out the Free Kick Podcast and make sure to follow Todd on Twitter, again, at the Free Kick Pod. Is that what it is, Todd?
Yep, at Free Kick Pod.
All right, cool. Well, thanks again so much, and have a great day, man.
Thanks, you too. It's always a blast coming on.
Welcome back, everyone, from that lovely interview with Todd. Let's talk about MLS before we kind of take a downturn and talk about the U.S. men's national team. So, according to the Sacramento Bee, which is the newspaper out in Sacramento, Sacramento is joining MLS in 2022. Sacramento Republic is currently in the USL. They've been drawing pretty decent crowds. I actually caught a match, I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. I was pretty impressed with them. Matthew, what do you think about Sacramento joining the league? Are you excited about them joining? Do you think they've earned it?
Yeah. For me, how many California teams are there right now?
Right now there's 3, so this would be 4.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a little bit frustrating that California gets all those teams, but there are a lot of people in California. I'm surprised, actually, the Bay Area. I mean, I guess San Jose would be the whole Bay Area, and the Sharks. So it's good they only have 2 sports teams. What?
The Bay Area?
Well, no, I'm saying San Jose, not the Bay Area.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you California people are so particular about
hoity-toity. as some might call them.
Like
What?
Dave,
All I was trying to do was clarify.
Every time I say Dave's moving to LA, we're moving to Orange County, actually.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, we're moving to Orange County.
What?
It's
Like
the
if
same
I
thing.
said, Matt, you were moving to Dallas, what would you say?
That's not
That's
the
not
same
the
thing.
same.
Okay, if
God,
I said you're moving to
so-
Galveston or something like that, I don't
Fort Worth.
know.
No, that's actually
Yeah.
Like if you're in Fort Worth
Yeah.
and you're moving to Dallas, okay, I understand. Like that's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Well, or if you were moving to Galveston and I said you were moving to Houston, would you correct people?
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I think Sacramento may deserve a team.
All right, excellent transition out of that. Christian, what do you think about Sacramento joining the league?
All right. So, did you actually say they officially are joining the league? Or
So they're in the final stages. So according to the newspaper,
Okay.
they're like 95% done.
Okay. I think that there are a lot of teams in California already, and I'm not really sure what the plan is there because I feel like there's markets all over the U.S. that could still use teams. But I really don't have a problem with Sacramento getting one. I think there's a huge populated city there that could be really good for the league. So it'll be interesting to see. It adds another, I guess, rivalry in there. I guess they'll be with San Jose. That's my guess. Is that rivalry will build, and then the LA teams will become the main rivalry instead of the Galaxy versus San Jose, which I think has been a huge rivalry, or it's dying off a little bit more now. No?
No. Yeah, no,
It is
there's still, I mean, because you can
California
have
Classico, right?
exactly the Cali Classico. I mean, you can have multiple rivals, right? I mean, Liverpool it seems like the city rivalry is building, and then with Everton and Manchester United, I think you can have multiple rivals. So I would expect Sacramento to be in there. Matt,
Yeah,
do
I
you?
guess the Union have DC and Red Bulls is probably who
Yeah, we're probably second fiddle in both those rivalries, which is frustrating. Matt, you had something else to say before I asked you a question?
Maybe. So, I don't know. I was a little thrown off by Christian's. Oh yeah. So do you have a problem with having multiple rivalries? Do you want teams to just have one, or do you think it just limits it?
No, I have no problems with multiple rivals. Christian?
I think it does limit it to some capacity, but I don't think you can really help when your rivalry is building. I think those just happen over time, and specifically between the fans it starts, and then it starts to feel it like on the atmosphere in stadiums, and then the players start to feel it too.
Yeah, I would say probably 3, maybe 4 max. Like if you have like 6 or 7 rivals, I think that it gets to be too much. But I think
you get to be Chelsea.
Yeah, I think 3 would be the max. Matt, what about you? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking because for me, I mean, in Philadelphia, I mean, some of our sports teams, but soccer-wise, the Union don't really have a rival. And then when we went to college, Penn State doesn't really have a rival either.
I know.
Which is, I mean, they have them, but we're not anyone's biggest rival. So for me,
we are with like Pitt and Temple,
but it's not reciprocated.
For those two, it is.
But
we didn't play Pitt for like 60 years.
Yeah, it's not reciprocated by Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's the same concept. So whereas Penn State with Ohio State and Michigan, but Michigan and Ohio State, they're their rivals. I think that's what Matt's trying to say.
Got it.
Yeah, now Maryland's like trying to be our rival, but everyone in Pennsylvania is like,
and
why do you
Rutgers.
care about Maryland? Yeah, so I don't know. So for me, it's just having one rival is easier, and I would like it like geographically, like in town, like the North California rivalry makes sense for San Jose and Sacramento. So I like that, but when you have like too many rivals, like are you gonna say every California team's a rival when there's so many?
No, I don't think so. But the LA San Jose rivalry is because they both came into the league in 96 and they had a lot of competitive matches and like ridiculous matches. So that rivalry was built. It wasn't exactly manufactured. The LA rivalry or El Tráfico is just because of proximity and because of both teams sort of having star power, that sort of developed. And so I don't think you can manufacture. I think you can try, but really what Christian was saying is it has to build over years and it has to be amongst the fan base. It's like what just happened with the Union and Atlanta United. I mean, if they can have more games like that and the fan bases were really going at each other online, I mean, if you have more things like that, I mean, maybe it builds and so can grow from there. Getting back to Sacramento, though.
If that's the case, everyone's going to be a rival with Philadelphia.
Yeah, fair enough. Getting back to Sacramento, Matt, what's up? Do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was like, let's just have this entire topic about Sacramento and just not talk about the actual.
Let's avoid the U.S. national team.
Hey, so, good topic.
Do they get any benefit of performing well in the USL, Matt? Does that give them any sort of confidence from you that this is the right market for MLS to go into? Do you put any stock into that? Not
really, because they're just so different. It's so hard to draw fans to USL. And it's just completely different once you go to MLS. So I wouldn't put too much. And, the style of play is going to be different. I'm sure there's going to be completely different players. If you get a big name right away, I think people are going to be more interested. So I think that's more important and just kind of being good right away to just build that fan base.
Interesting. Christian? Thoughts on that?
Well, FC Cincinnati played well, had a big fan base, and look what happened to them. So I am not going to put any stock into how well they're doing in the USL. It's a completely big step up, and it's a different game altogether.
But I think as a brand, I think that they've proven that they can do well in the lower divisions, and they've kind of almost earned that right. And so, at least from that perspective,
kind of like Messi in his contract, right?
Yeah, at least with Cincinnati, though, it's not like everybody's abandoning ship. Like, they're still drawing to the game. So I think that is a benefit, and you sort of build that in. Build in that sort of floor, right? Where if you're starting a brand from absolutely nothing, you have a much lower floor. So that's what I'll say on that front. Guys, anything else on this before we get to the topic that we're all super excited about?
Yeah, we got to go. I'm so busy.
I agree with Sal. Phoenix should be in MLS.
Yes, good comment, Sal. And I think that they eventually get in, but MLS really needs to figure out what the hell they're doing, and they need to cap the league. I don't think they can go more than 32. I really don't even want them to go to 32, but I think they're going to that, and we'll see what happens from there. All right, switching gears over to the U.S. men's national team versus Mexico. Super exciting topic, and we have a new segment called Drunken Words, Our Sober Thoughts. Matthew had a few drinks on Friday and was firing off some amazing tweets. So let's start with this first one, Matt, here.
Tweets?
Or not tweets. God, I keep saying tweets. Messages, whatever the hell they're called. When
Wait, are we quoting me?
Oh, yeah.
He's going to read your text. They're written down.
He sucks, and he doesn't care about America's success, specifically talking about Berhalter. Matt, care to elaborate on that one? Do you actually believe that?
Did we write this down in the Google Doc?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I wish I read this. This is my first time ever hearing this.
Well, you said it, so no, that's not true.
So clearly you have issues with Berhalter, and so what are your problems with Berhalter?
I just don't think he picks the right players. He doesn't go after. It doesn't seem like he talks to the players, as we've seen with Nagby, and there's been players saying they haven't, like the dual citizenship players that he hasn't reached out to them. And it seems like players don't really like playing for him. He's playing people like Pulisic came out in the media and said yesterday that are scared of Mexico, and you can't, I think it comes from the coach. He's not inspiring them to be better than the best team in CONCACAF. And once you step on the field, you should think you're the best team. I don't care who you are. If you're playing for America, that's the mindset the coach needs to put into these players' head, and Pulisic's the only player on our team that has it.
That's a fair argument. Christian?
I agree with all of Matt's drunken thoughts. I think that they are magnificent. And
he hates America.
This one specifically, Berhalter is not the answer. I think that Klinsmann did a better job and got way more criticism for it. And there has to be a better answer right now. I don't think tactically he has the answers, and the team selection has just not been right. Mexico, yes, they're a better team than us right now. I will admit that, but they are not that much better that it showed as dominant as it did on Friday night.
They didn't even play their real squad.
Okay. So I'm going to agree or disagree on a lot of things here. So Klinsmann tactically was an absolute mess, and his player selection was not great. I also think our player pool right now is weaker than when Klinsmann took over. I think we have a lot of up-and-comers, but the players kind of in their prime are really, really soft and not good enough for international level quality. My biggest criticism of Berhalter at this point is, I hate to harp on, but Trapp and Zardes should not be on the national team. They are just, we say it every time, and I don't like doing it, but Zardes is not good enough internationally. And Will Trapp, just at this level, playing against Mexico, he might be okay in a CONCACAF game where we're dominating possession, but he's just not good enough. He's not athletic enough. They should have started Morales along with along with Leggett and McKennie, probably out of their. I would have liked to see Pomical in for Leggett, but Morales should have started at the number 6 position. Thought that that's what it should have happened. And Matthew, your point about him not communicating, he is communicating with the dual nationals. It's not his job. He came out and said that, Berhalter I'm talking about, he came out and said that it's not his job to communicate with like 15, 16-year-olds who are on youth teams and considering dual nationals. He communicates with the national team pool. He came out and has had communications with Sergino Dest, and that's why Dest was playing. And so I do think he is better in a lot of ways, and he's less than a year, I believe, into his tenure. And I think he's trying to do things, and it's not going to happen overnight. He's trying to change the culture, and he's trying to change the way we play tactically, and we're just simply not good enough on a player pool. Matthew.
Did you see the quote? I didn't verify it, but didn't Des say he's Dutch by heart, and if they called, he would play for them?
No. So he said he's keeping his options open. And so he was called into the U23 Dutch camp for this, but the U.S. called him in as well. And so he is still not cap tied. He's played for the national team, and if he wants to play for the Dutch national team, he needs to file a one-time switch, and he can do that. But if he plays in the CONCACAF Nations League games, which are in October, then he will be locked in. So there is still that battle going on. He said he feels both Dutch and American, and so it's still up in the air. But no, he didn't say that like he's only going to play for the Netherlands. All right. Next comment here from Matthew. We can't be elite until we start diving. Christian, let's start with you on that one. Do you agree with that?
So when I said I agree with all of Matt's thoughts, I wanted to backtrack on that a little bit here. No, I don't agree with that.
Okay, Matthew, do you
1,000% agree with that?
Okay, can you elaborate on why?
Because one, the refs, it's just like, if we're not rolling around and flopping, like, players aren't going to get booked. There are so many challenges that happen in U.S. like international games where the other team should be booked, but we don't dive, so nobody gets booked. And it's so clear and obvious. And, a yellow card just affects that player. If it's a holding mid, they can't make a 50-50 challenge for the rest of the game if it happens early on. And I think us, I forget who it was. Who got a yellow card, the center back, when he didn't even – Pulisic fouled somebody. They got
Aaron Long. Yeah, Aaron Long.
Aaron Long gets a yellow card because I think it was Chicharito's rolling around, and nobody even touched him. And it's just things like that where our center back now can't make tackles.
Yeah. So if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? That's your point?
Yeah. Tom Brady. Bill Belichick.
Okay. There you go. So, I mean, I understand the point, but I still think that you can be successful as a national team without playing those types of mind games. I know, I said Germany, Matt. I know you tried to counterpoint that, but there are national teams out there that don't necessarily, play with that gamesmanship sort of mentality, and they are still successful. So I'm going to disagree with you on that one. Anything else to add on this before we get to the next one?
I really just hate watching it, and it really does appear that anytime anyone goes flopping around, which was happening on Friday against us, the calls would go that way, and it does happen a lot. You see it time after time. It is very frustrating.
Yeah, I remember Joel Campbell for Costa Rica just walked by Matt Beasler, who was just standing there and this was off the ball and just flopped, and Beasler ended up getting a yellow card. I think he was ultimately suspended like the next game because of yellow card accumulation, and he couldn't, even though he didn't even touch him. So stuff like that is incredibly frustrating, and I don't want to see the U.S. succumb to that. So I understand your point, Matt, but I still think you can be successful without that type of stuff, even though it is frustrating. Something else to add? I see you smiling.
We should deflate the balls.
All right. Last drunken comment, at least the last one that I wrote down here. Okay, Boyd, speaking of Tyler Boyd here, maybe the worst player to ever wear the national team jersey. His 2 touches so far made me actually yell at my TV. So, Matt, now that you're sober and can think back on that, do you agree that Boyd is the worst player ever?
I'm trying to test the size of my room right now. I don't think Boyd could take a touch in here. Yeah, so I think I'm going to agree with this. I'm sorry. I don't. So the thing is, I try not to bash players unless they're on the U.S. men's national team, because that's the only thing I'm like actually crazy
and Gundogan
about. don't get me started. but yeah, I try my best not to bash players, but like if you're on the U.S. men's national team and you aren't even giving an effort to do something positive, or when you get the ball and you just mess up all the time, I'm just furious. I don't think Boyd could take a touch in my living room.
Yeah, no, I understand. I was very frustrated, and I was actually yelling at my TV sober with little things like that. Because at the national team level, like those little mistakes, like they make an impact. And so you take a touch and it bounces up over your head, and eventually you settle it. But you've wasted almost a full second of just trying to get the ball under control. So I understand what you're saying. I do not agree that he is the worst player ever, and think that he did have some positive moments. But Christian, did you have any thoughts on Boyd's performance here?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Tyler Boyd. I don't think he's an answer, and I think that we have a better talent pool to pull from than Tyler Boyd. I don't think he's the worst player that we've ever seen at the national level. We've seen Giassi Zardes many times, and that is just very clear to me that he is not a national player. I think that we just need to do better because it is painful to watch. I was at a game night on Friday, and I was like, hey, can we put the game on in the background? So I barely got through any games because I was very focused in on the TV, and I was screaming in front of all these people who half of which I didn't really know that well. So that is now my image that I have cast upon these new friends.
That sounds about right. So at the end of the day, what did it finish? I think it finished 4-0. What was the final score? 3-0?
3-0. And we missed a penalty.
Yeah, so we missed the penalty, which was really odd. Pulisic gave up the penalty to Sargent. It was fantastic ball in by Leggett to Sargent. No, to who earned the penalty?
Well, then Sargent.
Sargent played it, or excuse me, Leggett played it in. It was Sargent.
Sargent won it.
Okay, Sargent won it, and then Pulisic ended up giving him the penalty, and he ended up missing it. On the positive side of things, I thought that the U.S. played really well for the first 20 minutes. I thought that they were committed to passing out of the back, and then Mexico made a couple tactical adjustments, and the U.S. just couldn't adapt to it. Mexico's press was so organized. It was really incredible to watch, whereas the U.S. pressed, but it wasn't nearly as organized. And so I do want to say that the U.S. at least tried on that front. And then at the end of the day, it was still 1-0 into the second half, correct, Christian?
Yeah.
So at the end of it, it's a friendly, and they're trying to do things. The U.S. is trying to do things, and they're trying to develop these different styles, and it's not going to change overnight. And so from that perspective, I admire them for trying to go for it and trying to change things up, but didn't end up working out. And I'm not going to write off the whole entire national team and Berhalter and everything that he's trying to build, because I think we do have a lot of players coming through at the youth level that I'm really excited to watch. Anything else to add on the game? I know you guys, Matt specifically, was not happy and probably doesn't want to talk about it more. Christian, anything else?
I feel like Matt thought you were like Pastor Welfer there. Every time you were almost done, he would have to put his earbuds down.
You're talking shit on our childhood minister on the podcast.
I didn't. No. He just would do that thing where he would lecture and you'd think he was done, and then he wouldn't be. And then it would go on for another 20 minutes.
So yes, you're talking shit on our childhood.
That's not talking shit. That's just a style of communication that I was just saying you were mimicking.
I wasn't done. I was trying. Matt was taking his headphones out because he didn't want to hear me talk about the game anymore. That's what he was doing. Matthew, anything else to add on?
I thought you kept being done, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, I just really wasn't trying to listen to the game.
Exactly.
I have so much to add that I can't add right now.
All right, fair enough. So we'll move on. The U.S. is playing Uruguay tomorrow, which is when most likely people will be listening to this podcast. So hopefully they perform better. Most of the Euro players are going back, so I don't have a lot of hopes for that game. So we'll see what happens. Listener questions. We just have one thing we want to talk about, and surprise, it's drunken words, our sober thoughts from Matthew Knittel again. Continuing here, hottest of takes. Germany isn't even good anymore. Christian, do you agree with Matt's comment?
I agree that they are just not what they used to be. I wouldn't say they're not good. They're not the U.S. who are not good. But I think that they are not any type of European powerhouse right now. I think that they are in a transition phase where their experienced players are aging out a little bit and their young players just don't have any experience right now. We're going to see that transition again. They're going to be fine. I'm not worried about it at all. They have a lot of young talent on that team, but right now they do not look good, specifically because Löw has cut 3 of his experienced players who can be starters still.
Matt, thoughts on this? Do you still agree with it now that you're sober?
Yeah, I agree with that. I was really mad that the one guy, never even freaking heard of the guy, just scored a ridiculous volley to beat Northern Ireland. But, I mean, they were struggling to beat them earlier. I don't even know what the score finished. I checked in like the 80th minute. Scored a really nice goal. I don't know who the hell the guy was. But, no, I don't think they're that good. I don't think they're going to qualify for Euro.
Okay. All right. I don't.
They won 2-0.
Okay.
Yeah, some garbage time goal, probably.
Halstenberg scored the first one, who I've never heard of, and I'm sure that's who Matt is talking about.
Yeah, because Serge
Gnabry scored in extra time, 93rd minute.
Yeah, some garbage time goal.
Okay. So, I mean, all national teams go through cycles, excuse me. I mean, the Netherlands had a downturn and they're coming back up. You can't be at the pinnacle forever.
Yeah.
Argentina's going through.
And Netherlands wasn't that good. And now Argentina's not that good. I'm saying now. Like they go through,
Yeah. I don't know if not good. It's such a subjective term. They're not good compared to their ridiculously high level. Exactly. They're still a very good national team, but yeah, they're probably not at the pinnacle. And to a even lesser extent, the U.S. is in the same boat where the U.S. was maybe, I don't even know if they were good. They were like, okay. Average. Yeah, average. And now they're in a downturn, which is not very good. But those things can change very quickly if some young players hit and they really start to develop. So that's where I'm going to take some positives from all of this and, root for the best, specifically circling back to the U.S. So that was Drunken Words or Sober Thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed that segment. Guys, anything else to add before we wrap things up here?
Nope.
All right. So, Christian, you want to recap our trivia question?
Yeah. So between Timo Pukki and Cristiano Ronaldo, who has had more match-winning goals, and how many do you think each of them had since the start of the 2018-19 season?
So this was the start of last season. Okay.
So, Dave, I'll go to you first to get your thoughts here.
Okay. I'm going to say 11 for Pukki or Pokey. How are we saying Pukki?
Timo Pukki.
Pokey sticks.
Pokey. Yeah, Pokey sticks. And I'm going to say Ronaldo has 7.
Okay. Matt, what do you think?
So last year, wait, we're talking just club or are we doing club and country?
It's everything, I believe.
Okay. So for club and country, I'm going to say 10 for Ronaldo, 13 for Pukki.
Pukki has 11, so good job to David. And Cristiano Ronaldo only has 8. Fun fact,
so
Pukki
close.
has 43 goals, Ronaldo has 32. Pukki also has 11 assists to Ronaldo's 10, which is a little surprising. I know he was in the second division.
Yeah,
year,
all right, good.
But it's still, and in open play goals, Pukki has 41, Ronaldo only has 20, which is kind of a crazy stat. Open play goals are much more difficult to score, obviously. All right, so
last quick kick picks video, I did tip that Pukki was the best player in the world. So
you did. That I can confirm. That did happen.
Majority credit for his goals.
So he should be at a 92, Neymar's level, right? Probably above
90,
Neymar.
like 96. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. So going back to Christian's topic. So people are trying to do a petition for when the icon ratings came out.
Yeah.
Ricardo Kaká, his prime card,
91.
his highest overall, is a 91. I was like, that's pretty low for how good he was at one point.
It's true. I think that is very, very true. That is way too low.
Agreed, especially for icon cards, which I kind of understand.
There's 3 of every icon. There's a prime version, a young version, and an old person version.
So his
the beginning of their career, they're old. The end of their career,
all right,
and then there's the prime.
Yeah, there's no way. So is it compared to so Messi's a 94? So
right now.
what was Messi's highest ever?
So
95?
Gerrard, I think, is also a 91.
Lampard.
Zidane is a 96. His is coming out this year. Maradona, I think, is a 98, and Pele is a 98.
Yeah,
I think
you'll probably put Kaká
original
94.
Ronaldo's a 96.
93 or 94 probably is what he deserved.
Yeah, Ronaldinho is a 94 or 5, Matt?
4.
Okay, all right. That's enough. Listeners, all right. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble on, especially towards the end there. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a review on iTunes. 5 stars and a written review helps us out so much, and we would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Matt, what's our website?
our website is www.brostalkingsoccer.com. There you can read about all the great accomplishments we've had in our long lifetimes. You can find past episode links to our YouTube channel. There's also a store link where you can get sweet merchandise like Dave pulling his nipples over there, the shirt he's wearing. There's also an Amazon store link where you just click on that and it takes you to Amazon. You do your normal shopping. We just get a small percentage, just maybe one additional step to you. Really helps support the show. You can also buy us a shot, which is a way of supporting the show. If you're feeling generous, have a little bit of cash money to go around and you want to help pay for Dave's dinner, please, it would be greatly appreciated.
Or his shots.
Yeah, I'm very hungry, as the listeners will hear in the outtakes.
Yeah.
Christian, can you tell people about our Slack channel?
Yeah, join us over at Slack if you just want to communicate with Dave and I. Matt sometimes, but not really. He's never there. And then a bunch of other soccer community people where we have all these different channels, such as the top 5 European leagues, MLS, Liga MX, international soccer, bunch of topics. We got a general category where you could come and talk about anything you want. Trust me, people do. And if you want to get involved, tweet at us at BT Soccer Pod or email us at bros.talking.soccer. We'll get you involved in our little universe of communication.
Yeah, there you go. Universe of communication. Nice. All right, last couple things. In addition to the podcast, I have a YouTube channel called The Soccer Tavern where I make videos about the history, culture, and philosophy of the beautiful game. I am starting back up with those videos. I've been working with some smaller clubs in the US and the UK to do some club histories on them. So those will be coming out within the next week or two. Really excited to do that. And then I have Bundesliga and then newly promoted Premier League club history videos. Those will probably come out in November because I'm traveling basically the entire month of October. So look for them coming up. And then lastly, in addition to all of this, I have a fantasy soccer startup that I've been working on for a number of years. And if you or someone you know has a background in specifically iOS or really any mobile app development, please get in contact with me. And ideally, they're a soccer fan. And I would love to have a chat with them because I've been looking for someone. This has a lot of potential and I'm really excited about it. But yeah, I can't. So podcast listeners, apologies for the laughter there. Matt and Christian are doing ridiculous things on YouTube. But yeah, if you have any mobile app development skills, I would love to chat at BT Soccer Pod, send a tweet or send an email, bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. Christian, any final words?
Thanks everybody for stopping by. I hope you had a really, really good time. I think you should all tune in to the YouTube channel. If you're not already, you're getting a lot of extra content today.
Matthew, anything else you want to say?
Hey, thanks for having me on your podcast.
All right, listeners, we thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful day. We'll be back with another podcast next weekend. Talk to you soon. Have a great one. See ya. Guys, I am lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree. I got some new lighting I'm very excited about. I decided to get incredibly cheap ones on Amazon, so I have 2 lights here. Not exactly thrilled with them, but I have a pillowcase over top of them, so the lighting is a little bit softer, and so...
Yeah, you should have seen him before he put those pillowcases on. It was like he was haunting us.
Yes, I was exceptionally bright.
Are the pillowcases a fire hazard?
Yes, they absolutely are. So I'm keeping an eye on them, and wouldn't be shocked if as we were recording, I got to sprint away and go get the fire extinguisher. But, you know, it's the price we pay for podcasting, right, guys?
Right.
And then after Noob, we'll come back into Christian's section. Christian, after you, we're going to do Todd's interview, okay?
Yeah.
What?
Sorry, you meant to say after Noob, but it's like you're trying to say afternoon and messing it up is what it sounded like. Okay.
Well, is that an elephant behind you, Matthew?
No, it's 4 elephants.
Oh, so Matt didn't know about our owl thing. I think we need to discuss that at a different time, but that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, Matt, are you not on any of the... Owls are absolutely hilarious creatures.
Who?
Good. See, he gets it. He gets it.
Why is the carpet wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margot. I am so hungry. If you guys hear my stomach growling, just let me know. All right.
I hear it.
Oh, as sensitive
so
as you
loud.
like.
What's that?
Oh, wait.
Oh
No
my
way.
God.
Did
No
you just
way.
hear that?
No way. No way.
Is there a pigeon?
Huh?
Wait, that sounded like a fucking
That was my
coo.
stomach.
It sounded like...
I told you, I'm really freaking hungry. Oh, I'm hungry.